Welcome, everyone. The sports writers are here. Phil Stacy, Matt Williams, Nick Giannino, and Nick Kukuru all here this week to talk sports. We got a bunch of things to talk about. First of all, we'll Little League Baseball. We're going to talk about sports media as well. But first, let's talk about the Salem News Coaches of the Year that were in Monday's paper. We'll pop them up there, and we'll begin our little discussion that way, if possible. Phil, do you want to, Matt, do you want to take this one or what? What do you want to do?
I just want to start, make sure we answer it at the end, but I have a trivia question. We've got Michelle Roach here from Girls Lacrosse. So she has now received Salem News Coach of the Year honors in two different sports, not counting track, right? So like not winter and spring track, two totally different sports, being hockey and lacrosse. There is only one other person who has done that. And since the Salem News reinstituted its All-Stars in the year 2005. And so that's the trivia question for the end of the show. If anybody can think of who that might be, that person that has been Salem News Coach of the Year in two completely different sports. And maybe at the end, when we reveal who that person is, we can discuss, there are some others that probably would have received those awards had we had, Coaches of the Year in the 90s and much of the 2000s. But, that's a nice little note. One other person. So put your thinking caps on.
Took me two guesses. So we'll see if anyone can get it quicker.
Can you give us a hint? Are they active?
Yes, this coach is active. Yeah.
So
This
I
coach
got two
active
names that
and
jump to mind, so I don't know. They're both active.
And the coach in question is in the Northeastern Conference as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know who that is. All right. You want to guess, Nick?
I was thinking either Mark Betancourt or Mike Giardi were the two that popped into my head first. So
Good guesses.
wait
Good
till the end?
guesses. Should we reveal or should we wait till the end?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we should wait to the end, but
right.
we do risk the possibility of forgetting what we were doing, So maybe we should
remember.
reveal. Nick Giannino, what do you have? You were going to make a guess, right?
No, I already know. We talked about it earlier. It took me two guesses. So
Well, so I will reveal there are in fact two. I missed one on our list that Nick Kukuru has just revealed. So one of Nick's two guesses is one of the answers, but there is another that I missed. So I missed one of Nick's two guys, and then there is one other guy. Well, now I've revealed that it's a guy as well. So
All right.
And I should say, too, we restarted them in 2005. You're correct. But we had been on hiatus. We had done them when I first started at the paper in the fall of 1990. We were doing all-star teams. And we did them until I want to say 96, 97, somewhere right after the time we merged with the old Beverly, the Salem News merged with the old Beverly PV Times. I think we took a break for maybe 6 or 7 years before I became the editor, the sports editor. And then we restarted it several years into my tenure in 2005. So just to clarify, we should really try to find out some of those older, God, if we can even find the records now, but to find some of those old coaches of the year in various sports.
I think we probably should reveal it rather than belabor it, just for the sake of, I think we should do it. So, Nick, what was your second guess then? Nick Giannino then?
Tommy Doyle, Salem High, basketball and golf.
Okay.
And I'm guessing that Giardi was the other one. He probably did it for baseball and hoops.
yeah,
Yep.
Mike Giardi was the other one. Mark has not been Coach of the Year for football just yet. So we'll see if they can maybe pull something off this fall or something like that. But yeah, Giardi and Doyle, pretty impressive. The two guys that came to mind for me were the Dougs of the Cape Ann League that certainly probably would have gotten it in the 90s. Doug Hoke and Doug Woodworth, both tremendous coaches.
Well, I was thinking Hoke. That's why I asked if they were active, because the non-active name that popped in my head was Doug Hoke.
I was wondering, too, if maybe Paul Worth fit into that category, because he was football and baseball at the old North Shore Tech. I know he was coaching both in the late 90s and into the early aughts.
Yeah, into the 2000s. Yeah, he definitely a candidate, tremendous candidate. Certainly the Niz would be a choice there, probably, maybe not like 93 and 96 or something like that. And On the girls' side, you got to think about like Barb Damon, for sure over the years, right?
Yep.
And
Or someone like maybe Jim McLaughlin at Pingree.
for sure, yeah, great one, great one there. So some good ones over the years, but just goes to show you that it seems like more and more, just like the players are specializing, the coaches are specializing as well. You don't see too many guys. That was kind of the thing in the 50s and 60s, right? Oh, I'm the AD, I'm the football coach, the basketball coach, the baseball coach. You don't see that too much anymore. It's always different people these days.
Yeah.
I have to say too, by and large, when we come out with the all-star teams, and Kooks, I'm sure you get the same thing. There might be some, general complaints. Oh, why didn't my kid make it? How was this chosen? Or da, 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 da. Very rarely do we hear complaints about the coaches being picked. Kooks, you got Nino, you got an email, a text recently. Somebody was unhappy with how a team was picked, I remember, and was like, what are you talking about, dude?
Yep, it happens.
Yeah.
No further comment, but yeah.
Yeah, no need to, but I just thought it was kind of, I don't know, seemed to be sour grapes, but I digress anyway.
You know what? The other thing I was thinking of by showing those names up there, and it reminds me that for those of us, that cover the high school sports scene, how important the coaches are to doing the job that, we do, so to speak, in covering high school sports. And so I think when you have a coaches all-star page, like we just showed you from the Salem News, it really means something to the people that put it together. That's what I'm trying to get to here, because it, I think because we respect what they do and day in and day out.
Yeah, and it's not always the coach with sometimes it is. Obviously, you look at like girls tennis this year, and Kathy Farnham was a pretty easy choice as well, I shouldn't say that. We had a couple of state championship girls.
Well, yeah, it was between her and Joe Marr of Hamilton Wenham, and he deserves a shout out as well. If we could have had co-coaches of the year, we would have done that, but we like to pick just one individual, and I thought Kathy was more than deserving. So, but great season for Joe and the Hamilton Wenham girls as well.
What I was going to say is it's not always the championship team coaches that get these awards. There's sometimes another story behind the wins and losses, or how far a team has come along, or what kind of injuries or strife or whatnot they had to deal with during the season, or maybe they overachieved. That they had gone 2-16 the year before, and they only went 500 this year, but it was noteworthy how much they had improved, and the coaching played a big part in it. So there certainly is a lot of thought that goes into this process. And plus, as Nick said, and we had the same issue in boys lacrosse, when you have a couple of different championship teams, it's difficult to get it down to one coach. And sometimes you have to weigh a lot of different factors and all. And as Nick said, both coaches are equally deserving, but you can only go with one. So you make your choice, and it's not to slight the other one, but you just pick who you think is the one who deserves it this year, even if it's slightly more. So
yeah, it was very close. And just going back to that girls tennis race, I think with Masco, one of the more impressive things was they didn't have any seniors on their varsity lineup. So for her to coach a team full of underclassmen and get them all to buy in like that, I just thought that was super impressive. And they went undefeated, as did Hamilton Wenham. So again, both very well deserving, but we gave the edge to Kathy over at Masco this year.
Yeah, and I did something similar with the boys lacrosse. St. John's Prep, we've talked about it many times on this podcast. They, had a fantastic season. They went, 22-1. They won back-to-back state titles. I think most people would say John Pinchon might be the best lacrosse coach in the entire state, and there wouldn't be a whole lot of argument. But that is, you're talking MIA lacrosse. Pingree, Kevin Tersola was phenomenal. John would be the first guy to tell you that, and Kevin would say it about John. They won 16 straight games to close out the season, 19-3. They didn't have playoffs this year, but Pingree never even had a season 2 years ago like everybody else, but they only played a handful of games last year. They didn't get the full year that a lot of teams did. So and he also had to deal with some sickness, not that he focused on that, but he was dealing with some personal sickness that he coached through. And also, I really thought Kevin did a fantastic job. And not to say John didn't. John's phenomenal. Like I would agree with all the coaches that say that. I just thought what Kevin did with his team this year, especially since they were 3-3 early in the season, and they won their last 16 in a row, that really spoke to how well he coached his boys up.
Let's jump to Little League Baseball. If you guys want to just give a quick update on that. We record here on Monday night. I know there's been some rain and stuff in the area, but on Monday, but what can you share with us on Little League Baseball?
Well, I was at the, if we want to start with District 15, moving on to the sectionals, I was at a great championship game, do or die between Gloucester and Beverly last week. What was that, Friday night? And yeah, Gloucester took a big lead, 7-1 lead, and Beverly battled all the way back. They had the bases loaded in the sixth inning with a chance to tie it up, and you know, they got it to 7-6. Still had a couple men on base, and the 10-year-old there for Gloucester, Luca Aberle, got a strikeout to end it with I think it was a full count too when he got the K. So Gloucester hung on, but you know, valiant effort from Beverly, and now we'll see the Fishermen, who I'm sure Nick can talk more about. I was impressed with their hitting. You know, that top of the lineup is pretty scary. They can do some things, and you know, they'll be a tough out in sectionals. Moving on, I don't know if Nick again want to add anything about Gloucester.
Yeah, I mean, they just balance. They don't really have any weaknesses. I think that's what kind of got them through. You know, they beat Beverly's ace twice, who might have been the best pitcher in the entire tournament. And yeah, like Nick said, that top five of their lineup is pretty elite, and they make the plays in the field. So you know, comparing them to the last Gloucester team to get this far in 2017, you know, they're not going to take you deep 1 through 9 like that team could, but they don't really have any weaknesses. They're just good everywhere, and that helps you get through this time of year.
Yeah, and again, the
mistakes
mistakes in the
10-year-old
field
work his way into the team, Nick. He's turning 11.
No, he's a 10-year-old. From what I heard, he threw a perfect game in every start but 1 or 2 in his 9 and 10-year-old team. So he was frequently called up to the 11 and 12-year-olds, pitched a bunch, and you know, he belongs. They've been kind of using him as a closer, and it works because they got 4 guys that throw hard, and then they bring him in, Aberle, and he just works really fast, and he's got a little bit of junk to go along with you know, his fastball, and it's just kind of a change of pace with all the other 4 guys that they have. And you know, they throw him in the 6th when they're used to seeing heat, and you know, he comes in, he's a little more crafty, and it's worked out well for him.
I can't say that I've ever heard of that before, where a 10-year-old has come up not only to contribute at the major league level, but to make an all-star team like that.
Yeah, it's nuts. That's the first I can remember.
When Nick and I were kids, the majors was 10, 11, 12. I mean, the 10s are with them. I've seen that. I can't think recently, but I mean, like, you know, when I was a kid, it was, you know, there was usually like maybe 1, you know, not like a lot, but it used to be that the majors was 10, 11, 12.
And his 12-year-old brother plays on the team too. I don't know how much of a role that plays into it, but
yeah, he's a good player too.
And he's a good player. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great to see those 10-year-olds fit in with those grizzly 12-year-old veterans.
Yeah.
Anything else on Little League ball to share with us?
Well, just keep an eye on the schedule. I mean, the Section 4 tournament is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Wyoma over there in Lynn on the square at sort of the intersection there, Peabody and Lynn. Nice park, tough parking sometimes, but the games are scheduled 5:30, 7:30. Peabody West, the District 16 champ, defending state champ. They got the 7:30 game all 3 nights. So Gloucester will be 5:30 Wednesday, 5:30 Thursday, and 7:30 the finale there under the lights Friday night with Peabody. The other 2 teams involved are Reading and Andover, and so round robin, everybody plays everybody, and we'll see the top 2 teams in the championship Saturday at 2:30, weather permitting. I mean, I know they're calling for some thunder on Thursday, so that could potentially back everything up a day. So just, you know, follow us online and see what the schedule ends up being, but should be a good tournament, as it always is. There's usually, you know, some pretty good games. I mean, I know that the tournament last year at Harry Ball was very entertaining, a lot of high scoring games, a lot of close games. So I expect nothing different this time around. That'll be towards the end of this week. And when we get together to chat next week, we'll know who's going on to the state finals. I guess there's a 50-50 chance at worst that it'll be one of the teams that we cover on this podcast. So that's not bad odds.
How do you guys see a potential? Well, I mean, a potential. I guess they'll play on Friday night, but a Gloucester versus Peabody West matchup. You have the, I don't want to say to use Bill's term, the grizzled veterans from Peabody West, but
Don't
kind of been
use
there,
it.
been there, done that. At least for the program, they have what, 2 holdovers, Willie, from last year's state championship team.
That's
And
right.
Gloucester seems to have all kinds of hitting, some good arms, play some pretty good defense. I mean, how do they match up against one another?
I think it depends on the pitching, right? I mean, especially being the very last game, so they'll know if they need to win or not, right? I mean, that there's a chance that could be a nothing game. You know, if both teams are 2-0 and already through, they could throw nobody and save it all for Saturday. I mean, you got to be impressed with the way Gloucester used up Pip Emerson, in Tuesday's game, and then was able to win 2 more games, ostensibly without him. Right? Because, you think the conventional wisdom would have been to lift him at 50 pitches. They threw him all 85. They didn't even win that game. And to come back and win 2 games without him, I mean, that just shows that that's a pretty deep staff. So that's kind of impressive. Peabody went 5-0. Ryan Scarry won all of his starts. And I'm not sure how much deeper they had to go. I mean, they threw him as well. They didn't lift him. He threw really well against Peabody Blue and also against Swampscott. So, we'll see what happens. These sectionals tend to test your pitching depth. You got to kind of go a little bit deeper. Typically game 1, you're lifting a guy around 50, so keep him eligible for a potential game Saturday, or maybe you throw your number 2 and throw your number 1, less pitches on Thursday. I mean, there's a whole, debatable strategy to it. And that oftentimes comes into play. And, with the local matchup being that very last game on Friday, I mean, that could mean nothing or it could mean everything. It's just so hard to tell going into it.
Seems to me like, everybody talks about having 2 good arms or even like a 3rd quality arm. At a sectional tournament like this, you really need a 4th and maybe even a 5th arm potentially. And I know most of these kids pitch during the season for their respective teams. I mean, you have to figure at least 3/4 of the players did, but I think it's one thing again pitching against Johnny Blue Jays in May, and quite another thing to be pitching against in a sectional final in July. So you have to hope that those back of the pen arms, so to speak, can come up big when their number is called and their teams need them.
Absolutely. No, that's why it comes down to relentlessness, offensively too. I mean, if you can kind of, you just stick to it and just get outs, just have good at bats and grind out, different pitchers and stuff. I mean, that's an advantage too. It's really the way it's gone nowadays. You're almost better off being an offensive team. If you got a lot of bats, then you're ready to rock and roll.
Well, yeah, you mentioned Gloucester not having Pip Emerson to pitch, but he sure hit, and they needed every one of those runs in that championship finale against Beverly. Emerson had 2 RBI doubles. He had another couple singles. I think he was 4 for 4 on the night. So, if they're not throwing the race, same thing with Beverly with Cam Barber. He didn't have his best stuff on the mound, but he came up with some big hits. So, it goes both ways, I think, for sure. Especially at this level.
I'm just trying to think last year. I mean, that Danvers American, they had a game against, Reading that was like 13-12 or something. Peabody's game against North Andover, I think, was like 9-8 or 10-12 in 7 innings or something like that. And then, of course, they go to the States and they'd have like, what was it, a 1-0 game or something like that. One of the games they lost. So you just never know how these games are going to go, but it seems like as the years go by, they get higher and higher scoring as the offense seems to be ahead of the pitching now, because it's just so hard to have that much pitching depth at this stage.
With the Peabody West coaches, where they ended a day early, I'm sure they probably went over and checked out the Gloucester Beverly final on Friday night to at least get some idea of a potential opponent in this sectional. Maybe not. Didn't get a chance to see Reading or Andover, but at least I'm guessing they went to the District 15 title game.
I'm not sure. I don't know who you're asking. I didn't see the coaches there, but I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't know if you knew it or if Willie knew it.
No,
Well,
I'm not sure.
I don't, I mean, Steve could have been in Texas too. I mean, I know, last weekend he had to fly home to be at the Peabody game on Saturday. And then because they were playing back to back, he missed Sunday's game, had to fly back with his showcase team who's in Florida or Texas someplace. So, but that's baseball, as they say.
a lot of travel. Texas, Lynn, you got it. There you go.
Right. That's right.
All right. Phil, we have the All-Star game. We're recording on Monday night, but the baseball All-Star game, when I was a kid, it was a big event of the summer. It really was. We'd park ourselves in front of the television. We were baseball starved back then, and we'd watch the All-Star game. We'd know everybody was on each roster, and we would watch it from start to finish. You've been to some All-Star games. What are you looking for? Anything special Tuesday night?
I have. Yeah. I don't know, keep my interest.
What's that?
I said, I hope it keeps my interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously a lot different now because you have interleague and all the players. It's lost a lot of that magic, I think, that the All-Star game used to have when it was, oh, wow, J.R. Richard for the Astros or Mike Schmidt for the Phillies, something like that. Certainly, I mean, all the guys from both teams and all, and there's a ton of substitutions and all. I mean, I liked it a little better when they let the pitchers go a little bit and not everybody had to get in kind of thing. But I was fortunate to go to a couple. I went to 2 All-Star games in a 3-year stretch, actually. I went to 97 in Cleveland, which was then Jacobs Field. And that was pretty cool because it was Nomar Garciaparra's rookie year. He got to play in I think it was a rookie All-Star game that year. So that was kind of neat. And the American League won that game. I think Sandy Alomar, who played for the Guardians, then Indians, had like a big 2-run hit and he won that game. But there was all kinds of great matchups in that game and all. And then I was at that fabled game at Fenway, 99, the Pedro 5 strikeouts and 2 innings game, the home run derby the day before. That was pretty cool. If I had to list all the events I've gotten to cover during my time at the newspaper, that would probably be right up there. Great atmosphere, Ted Williams on the field with all the living legends of baseball, 20th century greatest team and all this stuff. That was pretty cool. But, just if you'll allow me a funny story about that, I was with Bob Albright, who I think most of you guys know. And Bob worked for us at the time, and Bob went to the game with me. And Bob is an outstanding writer. He's really, really good turn of phrase and whatnot. He can be a little deliberate sometimes, taking his time a little bit, making sure everything is all right. And by the time he finished up, or we finished up, we went in together. It was 1:30 in the morning, and there was nobody in the park, and it was locked up. So Bob and I had to scale a fence inside Fenway between like first base and right field, like somewhere along, was that Jersey Street or whatever? We had to climb this like chain link fence and scale it with the, the twisties at the top there.
Ooh.
And ripped a nice pair of Gap khakis that night. What are you going to do?
So that's why you wear shorts now, huh?
That's where I'm always wearing the shorts now. Yeah, you got it. That was a warm night too. I wasn't wearing shorts that night. I remember that night was warm. But leaving Fenway Park at 1:30 in the morning. We actually went down on the field and ran the bases too because nobody was around. Went out and touched the left field wall. That was pretty cool. Ripping the pants, not so much, but made for a good story. So
Cool.
I don't know where to go after that, Phil. I have something, but I'm going to hold on to that. I'm not going to say anything, but that's cool. That's a good story. You're right. Absolutely a good story. And Bob Albright's a great guy too. You're right.
Love Bob.
Bob.
Man.
I was out with him a couple years ago at the Songus Center for some games, basketball games. So
I think I was there too. Bro.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Sat up there in the box. Yeah, that was good.
I think we saw Bob last. Did we see him, Willie, at Swampscott Fenwick football state semifinal?
That might be right. Yeah, one of those. I think that's correct.
Manning. Yeah, always a treat to see Bob. Great guy.
Oh, no doubt. No
I
doubt
still
about it.
remember that my latest Bob Albright story was we're at the Songa Center. So those are big games, right?
Yeah.
MIA basketball games. They're at the Songa Center.
Oh, yeah.
And the media passes, sometimes you get these nice looking media passes and badges at the very least. At the Saga Center that day, they had a hello, my name is, and they
Right.
with a marker, put your name on it. And that's what we had that day going into the for the Saga Center media passes. But
If you put
sure you got
something
that one
different on
framed,
there,
right, Bill?
like,
what's that?
You got that one framed, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly right. I got a few right back here, the old days here. But yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna tell me Bob put a different name on there, like, Wilhelm or Cornelius or something like that.
I know. Hey, one of the topics I wanted to talk about, probably don't have time for it, but maybe you guys want to drop some names of any stories from the past week or so you guys want to do. Nick, I know you have a couple I think you probably could share with us. I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit, but maybe a couple things from the last week or looking ahead to this coming week, whatever.
No, that's all right. Well, the big breaking news over the weekend was Masconomet's senior Sam Brockelman. Very talented athlete, very good soccer player. He's going to be going to Connecticut College in the fall, which is the Division III reigning national champs. He also played number one singles for the tennis team. Just very highly regarded student athlete, good student, really good leader, and a great player as well. So he was, let me make sure I get the name of the award right. He was given the United Soccer Coaches High School Scholar All-American. It's a mouthful, but it's quite the honor. I was speaking with Masco soccer coach Jared Scarpacci, who said that he's never had a player in 50. Well, he hasn't been with the Masco program, but the Masco soccer program hasn't had a player in its 51-year history, given that honor. So it's a pretty big deal. And Jared's coached a lot of soccer teams over the years, both at the college and the high school level, which this award is given to both high school and college players, and he's never had one. So just to be nominated is a big deal, and then to actually make it onto the team, so to speak, for the again, it's called the United Soccer Coaches High School Scholar All-American. It's an academic based award, but you also have to be a good athlete too, and Sam fit the bill on both of those categories. So congratulations to Sam, who will be again taking his talents to Connecticut College in the fall. Really cool accomplishment for him.
I know we had some signings too. Did we? I don't think we talked. We didn't do a show last week, right? We were off. We didn't do it last week, right? Or we did, whatever. But Pat Connaughton signed a contract, right, with the Bucks, and
he did, yeah.
And Blackwell, with the former prep player, is signed with the Blackhawks. Phil, that you've been reporting on that piece too. So
yeah, and another former prep captain, Brian Pino, is gone from the Capitals to New Jersey Devils.
Colin Blackwell, right? Yeah. So
Pat's contract was for 3 years, just under 30 mil. So well done for Pat, who a lot of people thought he might not make it in the NBA at one point. He was a baseball player first, but his passion was with basketball, and he carved out a 6-man role with the Bucks. Won a championship. They love him there in the locker room. He's a good contributor on the court, so they locked him up for another 3 years. He loves being in the Wisconsin area, and quite the payday for Mr. Connaughton, who's going to be back home at St. John's Prep next month for a 3-day clinic for kids. So you can look in our paper sometime this week, and we'll have more details on that. But to my knowledge, there's still room for players to sign up for that.
nice.
Will one Mr. Brody Grenier be there?
I would imagine that he will.
Okay.
Oh, Brody, the kid. I don't know about Brody. Mike will be there though.
Mike might be a little old to play for it, but I meant his grandson Brody.
Yeah, his grandson. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'll have to relay that to Mike and see if he wants to get Brody over there.
Probably win an honor, 3-day honor, camper of the week, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, maybe we can broach the subject I was going to talk about, which would be sports media. Nick Kukuru's been a part of the Nick and Nick show on WBOQ for the last, I don't know, Nick, how many years? It's been quite a few, right?
Yeah, 9. I think.
9 years. Show's been on
Yeah.
for longer than that. And I think some other members of this group here were once on that show at some point. Phil.
Yeah, I was on
the-
it before Nick, I think, right, Nick?
Yeah,
Yep.
Did you
the
take
North
over
Shore.
for me? I don't even
I think
remember.
so. I was you and Pete Kelly that we took over for you and Pete Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was with Pete for maybe 7, 8 years before that.
Right. North Shore Sports Desk. It's now on msonewsports.com, and it's been posting Friday evenings or something like that. So with again, Dominic Nicastro and Nick Kukuru, who you see on your screen right there. But it's the local sports, the local everything is off of that radio station, WBOQ. I was also making note too. I know Nesson Sports Desk, you talk about local sports. They used to do a thing in the morning where I used to be catch it from time to time, quite often actually, for at least parts of it, the recaps of the games, the highlights or something like that. They don't do that anymore either. And I thought that was a big part of what Nesson was doing for sports in Boston and New England. And they don't do that. So we've seen some real cuts, I think, in local sports coverage. And I think we're down to really just a few minutes left here. I guess we got 4 or 5 minutes left, but I don't know if any of you guys want to react at all to any of that stuff.
Well, I mean, I can say I think it's sad about BOQ. I thought that was a great local radio station that people really enjoyed, not just for sports news, but just local news in general. And you know that was important to a lot of people. I think, especially when the station in Marblehead. Oh my God, why am I forgetting the call letters, Bill? Help me out.
WESX.
ESX, thank
Yeah.
you. On Naugus Avenue in Marblehead. I know that place well.
Yeah.
When that ceased operations, I think people really turned to North Shore 104.9 for, just some kind of local flair and talking about things between the songs that, landmarks that people knew or things that affected them and whatnot. And, the Kelly brothers have done a great job running that North Shore Sports Desk for going on 20 years now. I think it started with Paul Halloran and Bill Kaporis, and then Pete Kelly and I took it over from there, and it's been Dom and Nick since then. And had a lot of great interviews with a lot of great coaches and student athletes and local businesses supporting the show was fantastic. Of course, all the football games that they did was also, a nice treat for listeners on the weekend, or some other sports that they did throughout the year. So, I mean, I get it from a business standpoint. Maybe it wasn't doing as well as it should have been, and at this point in time, and throwing something on that they don't have to think about and changing the format. Maybe it made better sense then, but I think it's sad that medium is going away from the North Shore now.
Yeah.
It's been 20. I mean, so I remember being in high school, my buddy Danny getting a call to be on this radio show, and that was 2002. So I mean, it's been at least 20 years. And I remember thinking, I think it was at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was on a Saturday. And he was like, I don't want to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday for this, But so I do think, in some ways for Nick and Nick, this could help them grow, right? Because being on your great website here, Bill, I mean, people don't have to necessarily listen if they're not around at 8 or 9 on Saturday morning. They don't happen to be in the car. They can listen to it on demand, just like they do our podcast, right? So in some ways, maybe, it's a blessing in disguise, and they'll be able to reach like a different audience, just trying to put a positive spin on things as far as that goes.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good fit in that regard. I mean, we kind of cover a lot of the same stuff, that Rick and Bill do on that station anyway. So it's, kind of a seamless, transition to slide in there, because it's, very similar content that we're covering.
There's also, since 20 years ago, there's now a Merrimack Valley Sports Desk as well. So that's good. That's there as well. So I think it's a smaller desk though, Nick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
You
it
must have
is.
the huge North Shore Sports Desk with all the, I
Yes.
think it's it's like a really nice looking desk, and the Merrimack Valley Sports Desk, it's fine, but I think it's portable, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
not the same
Yeah.
wealth of knowledge of that area just yet. We're getting
But-
there.
But you have the rolling chairs, you go right from one to the other
Oh, yeah.
seamlessly. Yeah.
I will say too, though, that I think Paul and Peter Kelly really did what they could, to keep the show vibrant and active, and took a real interest in promoting local sports in the way that we all do, but to give it another medium. I think I used that phrase before. And, we would bring in, interns that help work the station, learn how to work the board or field calls and things like that. We had a lot of fun. I mean, I know when I was doing it, for me, it was a different vehicle from the actual newspaper. You could, it wasn't just your words on paper or on the computer, it was your voice you could use. And we got to talk to people outside of my area, maybe from up Newburyport, Amesbury region, or down, Linfield, some of the St. Mary's, some of the Lynn schools, things like that. So I really enjoyed it at the time. In fact, I think I stopped only because we kept having kids, and it got to be a little bit crazy because I was leaving the house to go do it. But yeah, right. You would have taken over about 9 years ago, Nick, right? So it would have been after my third was born. So yeah, that lines up pretty good, I guess.
There you go. All right. So on that note, it's a family affair here for sure. Absolutely.
Is, yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for your time. We'll talk again soon. And thank you, sports writers.